Welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Talking in this first hour about marijuana use. Dr. Carl Benzio, Lighthouse Network, saying doesn't think it ought to be legalized under any circumstances. We've been talking with him about some of the long-term effects. We had a caller just said, look, it permanently damaged, or it seems to have permanently damaged the clarity of my mind and my ability to think clearly, grasp concepts, do math. I've had to work so hard to get my GED. I've had other friends tell me that have used it in the past to say, I wish I had never touched the stuff. And so maybe there's going to be something salutary about people listening to this and realize, look, this is not a harmless drug. In fact, according to this heritage.org blog, they deal, first of all, with the myth that marijuana is harmless and non-addictive. And they talk about what we were just talking about, how it's much more potent today. The kind of marijuana that's on the market is much more potent today than it used to be. You get the edible stuff. You can get E. coli in there. You can get salmonella because nobody is testing that for product purity. And the potency varies widely from one product to the next. And what Heritage Foundation points out is that mental health researchers are also noting the significant marijuana connection with schizophrenia. So mental health researchers are saying, look, there is a connection between marijuana use and mental health. We're seeing people coming in here who are schizophrenics, and we are tagging the cause here as the amount of marijuana that they have used. Educators are seeing how persistent marijuana use can blunt academic motivation, significantly reduce IQ by up to 8 points. This is according to a large study in New Zealand. Marijuana use can knock 8 points off of your IQ. Now, once again, this is what we are for. We want everybody to live a long, productive life with brains that are as alert and sharp as they possibly can be. That is what we are for. We are for people. We are for teenagers. We want the best for them. We want the best for you. That means we must be against certain things that are a threat to public health, and marijuana consumption is clearly one of those things. Even casual marijuana use, as Dr. Benzio said, this is the way the Heritage Foundation puts it, even casual marijuana use can result in observable differences in brain structure, specifically parts of the brain that regulate emotional processing, motivation, and reward. And people talk about the fact we just don't want to lock people up for smoking a joint. Well, he makes the point here, how Heritage does, less than 0.3% of all inmates in state prison are in there for smoking marijuana, 0.3%. The point is we're just not locking people up. We're just not doing it for simply smoking a joint. Maybe we get them for trafficking, possession with intent to distribute. We get them selling the stuff on the street. We get them selling the stuff to kids. That's a whole different deal. That's distribution. That's not personal use. That's not token up. That is distributing a product that we know is toxic to human health. That's a different deal. But for smoking a joint, 0.3% of the inmate population for smoking a joint. So don't let people lie to you that our prisons are just awash with people that did nothing but light up a joint. And then one last thing before we go back to the phones. People say, well, look, libertarians will say, look, hey, we can solve our budget problems. Well, the reality is, according to Heritage, for every $1 in revenue that the United States receives in alcohol and tobacco taxes, to use that as a parallel, we spend more than $10 in social costs. So we're spending $10 to remediate the problems that are caused by excessive tobacco use and excessive alcohol use. Why do we think that marijuana is going to be some kind of magical panacea, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? And the Netherlands, people often talk about the Netherlands. Well, the Netherlands, we've talked about this before, they are scaling way back on what they permit when it comes to marijuana use. They used to allow a tourist to go into these coffee shops and toke up. Now they're saying it's just a magnet for crime. They're getting higher rates of marijuana use. They're getting treatment problems that are connected with these coffee shops where you can buy and smoke pot. So they're trimming back on that. Only residents now are allowed to use these coffee shops. And, the Heritage makes the point that now's the time. Now we've got an opportunity to do something about this, because 52% of the American people drink, 27% of people smoke tobacco cigarettes. So 27% of Americans smoke cigarettes, 52% consume alcohol, but only 8% of the American people smoke marijuana. So in other words, their point is this is a problem. If we get on the front end of this deal, we can prevent a whole boatload of Americans from developing some very, very severe health issues. All right, let's go back to the phones, 888-589-8840. Let's grab a call from George in Mississippi. George, welcome. What's on your mind?
Basically, I just wanted to, I listen to you every day, and I just wanted to give, like Matthew, I was a regular everyday smoker, and I'm talking all day, every day at work and everything, and I believe seriously that it was, that it will slow down your brain function, because I can tell from when I was younger, to now. I've been away from it for about 8 years, and I can still, how do I want to put this? Basically, I can still tell, like, my brain function. Like, if I have a thought and I want to speak it, it sometimes it doesn't register as fast as I normally would have when I was in my, like, high school years.
Uh-huh.
But it's still, like Matthew said, it will mess you up, and it will bring a whole new world. When kids, like, I would go to a party, and I would be smoking with, let's say, a group of friends, and there would be one or two outside people that would all of a sudden bring another drug in. So they say it's a gateway drug.
Mm-hmm.
It is all that and more. And in the people, the world that you get into is a toxic world that you don't want to get into, because drug dealers, they're killing people. I can't. There was countless times where I had close calls. The day after I left someplace, somebody got shot or somebody got stabbed at a party. It's a terrible, terrible drug, just like any other drug.
George, go ahead. Finish your thought.
And when it comes to, like, I bought into all that, let's legalize it and all that. But now that I've been away from it and I've been, saved by the Lord, it brings a perspective of how bad it really was. I'm glad I went through it just for the experience that God showed me that I'm able to pass on to my children.
Mm-hmm.
But it is terrible.
George, let me ask you two questions. I want be concise and brief here, but I want to assume, for the sake of argument, somebody's listening to us right now, maybe a teenager. He's thinking about taking up pot smoking. What would you say to him? 15 seconds.
It's not harmless. It will bring friends in, but it'll bring the wrong friends in, and get in church, because that will be the drug you need is God and Jesus, period.
Second question, George. Let's say we have a lawmaker listening to us, a state legislator, maybe even a congressman, and they're going to be dealing with the issue of legalizing pot. What would be your recommendation to them? Should we legalize pot or not? 15 seconds.
Definitely not. The program is already corrupt in the medical profession, and you're just going to open up the door to more cultural decline. All
right. Thank you, George. I appreciate that very, very much. So, the point that George is making, based on his own experience, he's speaking to somebody thinking about taking up pot. Don't start. If he's talking to lawmakers, don't legalize it. All right. Thank you, George. Very good call. Let's go to Whitey in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Whitey, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Yes, Brian. I'm a Christian, a born-again Christian. I know for a fact I'm going to heaven, but I went through cancer. I had colon cancer, and they gave me 6 months to live. I had a table full of medicine, and I had no taste buds. I had nothing going through chemo. I was always sick, no energy, no nothing. A little old lady sat next to me in chemo and said, "You need to smoke that weird stuff." And I like, "What?" And then she said, pot. And I said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, look, it's helped me with eating. It's helped me." And she says, "I never touched it before, but my daughter gave it to me, and it's helped me." Anyway, so I quit. I quit for a while. I'm a 70s child, and I quit for a while. Well, I know this is going to go against what you're saying, but I smoked it, and I'm going to tell you something. The only medicine I had to take for 6 months after I started smoking was baby aspirin. That's the only medicine I was able to cut out all my medicine, and I'm a God-fearing man, and I try to study the Bible as much as I can. And the one thing that let me do it is because in the first page of Genesis, it says, all seed-bearing plants are given to mankind. And when it says, drink, but don't become a drunkard, the way I believe is that if you let anything control you, even if it's water, it is wrong. That's the thing. You got to control it. Now, I will admit that if it wasn't for marijuana, I don't know if I'd be sitting here right now.
Now, when you did you get past your cancer, or are you in remission?
Yes, I'm in complete remission. Thank you
Now,
to the Lord.
Did you keep using marijuana after you recovered your full health?
I have a little bit, and but no, not like I was, because I needed it to be able to eat.
Yeah. Now let me ask you one other question. I'm looking at this heritage piece again because I think we need to separate out the medical use, because there may be an ingredient in marijuana that would have some medical applications if it was carefully controlled. And what Heritage is saying, they've got a way now. It's called Sativex. It's a spray that takes the active ingredient that may have some medicinal applications. It doesn't get you high. In other words, it doesn't have the same effect on somebody that marijuana does, and it contains other ingredients besides what you'd get on the street. Did anybody at the time you were going through this, Whitey, did anybody talk to you about a possible medical use of marijuana in a pill or a spray? Did that ever come up?
Now, that's what I asked my psychologist about that, and they didn't really have it. I'm in North Carolina.
All right. Well, Whitey, I'm sorry, but so they didn't have it at the time, is what you're saying?
Right.
Yeah.
And
okay. I'm sorry, Whitey. I got to let you go. I'm completely out of time. Hard break. Can't do anything about it. Appreciate Whitey for sharing your story. Focal Point AFR Talk. We'll be right back after the news.